After a dramatic defeat in the 2020 season, the Cicero-North Syracuse Northstars return to settle the score. Hi everybody, Sam Gelfand here alongside my broadcast partner Tyler Aitken as we are here at the JD Aquatic Center in DeWitt, New York, welcoming you to this broadcast of Section 3 Class A swimming between the Cicero-North Syracuse Northstars and the Jamesville DeWitt CBA Red Rams. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Sam?
Not too bad. Now, CNS has suffered from a lot of important graduations. Arguably 3 of the best swimmers in program history graduated in 2020. Will they be able to hang today?
It's definitely going to be tough for CNS to hang in there today. Their coach always does a great job of recruiting, but COVID-19 has definitely impacted that. So we're going to have to see how well they're going to replace their best athletes, their best swimmers.
Of course, it's not like they don't have any talent. They still have plenty of it, and we'll see it in a little bit. But first, we have a quick public service announcement from all of us here at Jamesville DeWitt Athletics. The best precaution you can take against COVID-19 is to stay home whenever possible. We thank you for keeping yourself and our student athletes safe by watching this broadcast remotely. Let us bring this meet to you instead. So now let's take a look at today's schedule. For this upcoming meet, it'll be the same as always: 200-yard medley relay, 200-yard freestyle, 200-yard individual medley, 50-yard free, 1-meter diving, 100-yard butterfly, 100-yard freestyle, 500-yard freestyle, 200-yard freestyle relay, 100-yard backstroke, 100-yard breaststroke, and 400-yard freestyle relay. Now it looks like we're about to stand for the national anthem. So there's only one thing left to ask. Will the greater prep for JD, as they have already had a win under their belts, put them ahead of CNS? Only one way to find out. We'll be right back after the national anthem. Stick around. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The national anthem has wrapped up and we are just about ready to be underway. But let's take a look at today's players on a rampage. Of note today for the JD-CBA Red Rams, the sophomore Nate Wales. Last year against CNS, he got 2 gold finishes and 2 silver. An all-SCAC selection in 2 events. He is the team's top distance swimmer, and more than that, he is ranked 77th in New York State.
When you consider how big New York is and how great of a swimming capital New York is for the country, it's definitely very impressive to be ranked so high, especially as a sophomore. You see a lot of potential in Nate Wales, and you're going to be able to see him grow throughout the next few years within this program.
And we've seen John Harbaugh already dominate. He holds the CNS records in the 100 butterfly and the 200 free relay. All-SCAC selection last year in 3 events. He is the only All-SCAC senior remaining on the squad. He is ranked 307th. In New York State, he is nothing to sneeze at either, as we are about to start off with the 200-yard medley relay. We'll just go right into the normal stuff. There will be 2 heats for the medley relay today. The second one will be the scoring heat. The first is nearly 3 JD-CBA squads as we are now underway. In lane 1 will be Drew Babkian, Willen Arakchev, Braden McVicker, and Jacob Price. Lane 2, Seamus Endries, Matthew Sullivan, Samuel Keener, and Malcolm Britz. Lane 3, Tim Sheftick, Lucas Holmquist, Noah Mingalelli, and Samuel Kim.
I know no CNS swimmers are competing in this event, but I think this is definitely something that guys on the team are paying attention to. There's always a lot of people that aren't always in the scoring heats, but they're definitely going to be competing with each other for some bragging rights after the meet today.
And of course, you can look at this sort of like an exhibition to see the future of the JDCBA squad, because usually the people in the non-scoring heats are your slightly younger swimmers, the people who in a year or two are going to be stepping up to the plate in those scoring heats.
Exactly. We might be looking at our next Nathan Chen or Michael Brodslavsky in the pool right now.
Oh, you know, we'd love to find a couple of those. Of course,
I'm sure Coach Bewley would be very, very happy if they were able to find a few guys like that.
Of course, Nathan Chen will be competing in the second heat today. Michael Brodslavsky is actually not here today, and that could be of detriment to JDCBA. Of course, if you have an opinion on the matter, we do have a live comment section here on YouTube, and it is pulled up right next to us, so we'll be able to see whatever you're saying to us. Let us know what you think of today's broadcast and more importantly, today's meet. Always happy to hear from you. We're at 140 now, thereabouts.
We've got the third leg for a lot of these relays starting.
Lane 2 will be the last lane to make the changeover. It looks like Lane 1 with Braden McVicker is currently in the lead. We've crossed the 2-minute threshold.
For a longer race like this, do you think it's unusual to see such a close battle for first place here? Usually the lane is about to pull away, but that was such a close finish.
Yeah, that could have been anyone, and we'll see on the scoreboard. It was Lane 3, 2:23.76 who took it, but second place was 2:24.12.
Under half a second. That is an extremely, extremely close race.
Now, we saw a lot of that in the first meet against Baldwinsville, and surely we're going to see more of that later today.
There are definitely going to be a lot of opportunities for some close matchups. We've had some guys on JD/CBA and some guys on CNS have some close races in the past. At sectionals last year, Bobby Deal and Connor Burke in the 200 individual medley were within a second of each other. So these are two teams that have a history of close finishes with each other.
So now we are gearing up for the second heat. We can throw that up right now. We'll just improvise going into the second one. From now on, between the heats, we'll just Now we take a look at last year's all-conference picks in the Salt City Athletic Conference. CNS actually had 2 more than JDCBA did, but the big difference is that 6 of those picks were from graduating seniors for CNS.
It's always normal to lose a lot of good talent, but missing over half of it to graduation certainly hurts.
So now it looks like we are preparing for the second and scoring heat. JDCBA in the first 3 lanes. CNS in the final 3. Although they are only entering 2 teams. So in 4 and 5 it'll be CNS. Starting off will be Kyler Hike for JD in lane 1. Lane 2, Michael DiBiase. Lane 3, Jamie Toro. Lane 4 for CNS is Anthony Gabrielli, and lane 5 is Bobby Dunlap. And it looks like lane 3 and 4 are pretty close together, but lane 3, that's Jamie Toro pulling ahead. First changeover goes to lane 3.
It looks like it's going to be a back and forth battle between lane 3 for JD and lane 4 for CNS.
Although Nathan Chen just tagged in, Nathan Chen, one of the, if not the most dangerous swimmer on this entire JDCBA squad, and if anyone is able to widen the gap, it's going to be him.
Absolutely, and they really need to capitalize on his strength here. They want to get as much of a distance as possible because CNS has some good swimmers coming up.
And look at this. Chen widens the gap to almost a body and a half. The changeover is already made to Bobby Deal.
And they'll need every second they can get with Harbaugh coming in. He is a great swimmer, and he's going to be trying to catch up to Deal as much as possible here. He does seem to be making the gap a little bit closer. It's going to be a close race for first.
Yeah, John Harbaugh, we mentioned one of today's players on a rampage, is trying to close the gap, but lane 3 still in the lead. We have passed the minute 30 mark. And it's just a freestyle to go. It's coming down between Garrick Snyder and Jacob Griffin.
This is a lot closer than I thought it would be. Harbaugh did a great job getting them back into it.
Griffin trying to pull ahead. It looks like Garrick Snyder has taken it with a 151.31. Second place, 151.39.
That is an extremely, extremely close battle. Less than a millisecond. That is crazy.
0.08 seconds. That's 8 milliseconds. That is incredible. And also kudos to the timers to be able to differentiate there, but that is something else. So the first points will go to JDCBA. Coming in second place, 151.39 is CNS. They also come in third with a 203.29. That's lane 5. Fourth place is lane 2 with a 207.90, and fifth place is lane 1 with a 213.03.
Just like we were talking about, Nathan Chen did a great job extending the lead, but Harbaugh really made that a close battle in that third leg, which put them on a great path towards making that a very contended finish. Although they didn't win, CNS had a great fight during that last leg of that event.
Yeah, got to give credit to Garrick Snyder for being able to close it out. The score as it currently stands, 9-7. JD with a narrow lead, and narrow leads, well, that's been a running theme in past meets between JDCBA and CNS. Just last year, the meet would have come down to a single point if CNS had not been disqualified in the final event. But now we go to the second event of the day, the 200-yard freestyle. In lane 1, it'll be Lucian Zenz. Lane 2, Luke Marino. Lane 3, Nate Wales. Lane 4, Noah Ritchie. Lane 5, Payne Corbett. Once again, just like last race, lane 3 seems to be pulling ahead. It's Nate Wales, today's player on a rampage.
It is no surprise to see Nathan Wales in first place. He is always stronger in those longer freestyle events. You'll see that in this event. You'll see that later in the 500-yard freestyle as well.
Nate Wales, a rock star on this JDCBA team. Just want to point out in the comments section, someone referred to Garrick Snyder as Big G Anchor.
Always great to have some good nicknames among your team. That is a solid one.
That is a good one. If there aren't enough, we might start coining them ourselves. We've passed the 1 minute mark, and Wales still in the lead.
He's just moving so smoothly. There's barely a splash when he fights through the water. It just looks like he's gliding.
Somehow he has less water resistance than everyone else in the pool. I don't know how he's defying the laws of physics, but he seems to be right now.
Some people say there are good runners that run like a gazelle. He seems to be swimming like a fish. He is just gliding through there, and it's really, really fun to watch.
Like a mako shark specifically, using that long pointed tail to be able to cut through the water.
Mm-hmm.
He's already lapped everyone else at this point. And the funny thing is, for Nate Wales, this is just a walk in the park. Wales already done, finishing first with a 156.27. Second place goes to lane number 2, Luke Marino, with a 202.53. Third place in lane 1 is Lucian Zenz, 222.18. Lanes 4 and 5 for CNS, still toughing it out.
That is a clean sweep in this event for JD, which will definitely help them pull away. They do not want a close meet like last year. They want to get as big of a lead as possible.
Lane 4, Noah Ritchie will finish fourth with a 252.26. Lane 5, Payne Corbett is just about finishing here with a 303.29. That's the first and only heat for the 200-yard freestyle.
And JD CBA did get that coveted 13-3 score there. That is the best score that you can get in a swimming event.
So it is 22-10 now. The Red Rams have taken both of the first two events, and they're going to hope to keep this momentum up for the rest of the meet. 22-10. As we head into the 200-yard individual medley, you know, maybe one of the hardest parts when you start off with a great lead like this, when you're an athlete, is not getting comfortable and keeping yourself pushing and realizing that anything can happen, anything can change at the last minute.
Absolutely. You never want to feel like you've got the meat in the bag. There's a lot of swimming left to go today, and CNS has a lot of strong swimmers, so if you get comfortable, you're giving them a chance to come back and make this a very close match.
And in fact, some of their strongest swimmers are coming out right now for the individual medley. In lane 1 for JDCBA will be Kyler Hike. Lane 2, Jamie Turo. Lane 3, Bobby Deal. Lane 4, Connor Burke, who is very dangerous. Lane 5, Donovan Medina. And lane 6, Caden Griffin.
Like I said, this was the coveted matchup in sectionals last year between Deal and Burke. Deal won last year by about a second, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year, if Burke will be able to maybe get some revenge.
Deal finished with a 2:14.14 in the sectional contest. Burke with a 2:15.97. So let's see if these old rivalries will be reignited, as it looks like Deal is pulling out a very early lead.
So not only did Deal have a better time last year, but he also has a lot more practice and training. He's had a scrimmage, he's had a meet, so he has a lot more laps under his belt.
This is true. JDCBA has already had their first meet of the season. This is their second. They defeated Baldwinsville in their first meet. This is CNS's first meet, so they have had fewer practices, fewer scrimmages, and they have not had the benefit of already competing. "50 seconds now, and Deal is already on the backstroke, pulling out a very sizable lead. Look at that, it's almost 2 bodies lengths.
Again, he doesn't want to get comfortable here because CNS has a lot of talent. He doesn't want to let them back in, but if he just holds steady, he'll have a pretty sizable victory.
It didn't look like the fastest turn for him, but he's on to the breaststroke, which is one of the slower and possibly most physically demanding strokes, although I talked to a couple of swimmers and they said whichever anyone swims, they're going to say is the most physically demanding stroke.
Absolutely. I think everyone wants to think that their event is the hardest, and everyone has a point. Fast events take a lot of energy. You have to take trouble breathing, but longer events takes a very strong amount of endurance. So there's a little challenge to everything.
Yeah, freestyle, you have to put in all that raw power, butterfly and breaststroke, use different muscles. It takes more conditioning to be able to swim them. But we're on to the freestyle now, and Deal pulling out a very sizable lead. Once again, he finished last year with a 2:14.14. Of course, swimmers tend to do better in sectionals than they do in regular meets, although that being said, Deal is a year older, a year stronger, a year wiser, as he is almost finished now. Deal has finished with a 2:16.65, only 2 seconds off that sectional mark. Second place will be lane number 2. That's Jamie Turo with a 2:25.11. Connor Burke comes in third with a 2:26.33. Fourth place is Donovan Medina with a 2:38.40. Fifth place is Kyler Hike with a 2:41.61. And, well, everyone's finished, but the timer for lane 6 hasn't stopped yet for some reason. Oh, it looks like he may have gotten disqualified based on the signaling from the officials. Doing the whole cutting the neck signal, I think that seems like universal shorthand for disqualification.
Which swimmer do you think is getting disqualified here?
Lane 6.
That certainly doesn't help CNS, who has already taken a pretty sizable deficit in score. Still plenty of time to make it up, but things like this certainly do not help. It's not, you can't afford to make these mistakes when you're down.
Don't turn away from the mic, it makes it softer. Gotta keep it on you when you're talking. JD is 3 for 3. JD CBA, excuse me, is now 3 for 3 in the first 3 events. It does appear, we'll have to confirm with the officials, that Caden Griffin was disqualified for CNS, as his time has not been posted. It's just been completely taken off the scoreboard, which means it is currently 33-15. The Red Rams currently doubling the score of the Northstars. And you know, we were talking a little bit earlier about the recruiting efforts of CNS and the fact that due to the current ongoing pandemic, they weren't able to recruit like they normally would over the summer. And you can see that in the team size, as JDCBA has 37 swimmers on the roster, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, in the Salt City Athletic Conference. CNS only has 15 this year, down from 20.
It's definitely more difficult. You have more swimmers swimming more events. That means they're getting more tired. So even though CNS is the bigger school, they have a much smaller team, and that's really going to hurt them here. The depth in swimming is extremely, extremely important.
Of course, you're only able to have each swimmer compete 4 times during a meet. So in that case, your deficit comes in just how many people you're able to put in the pool for any event. You're going to see CNS only running 2 swimmers where they should be running 3 in multiple events. And that's going to mean that they're just simply logistically unable to get as many points. It's not a knock on talent, it's just logistics.
There may seem to be an issue with some of the electronic timers, which is something we're sorting out in between this and the 50-yard freestyle event.
Well, technical difficulties are pretty much always expected in any medium, any meet. Of course, we had no share of those. We already did PSA. We did team size. That'll be it until next one. We certainly worked out our share of technical difficulties in the last broadcast against Baldwinsville. Cameras cutting in and out at random. The Wi-Fi went down. We had to stream it off of my phone. I still need to bill all of you out there for my using up my entire hotspot for the month.
It was interesting. I was watching from the producer area, and
you were freaking out just like I was.
Sam's phone was sitting on the table next to the computer, and he kept getting notifications. 80% of your data has been used. 90% of your data has been used. 100% of your data has been used. So we were definitely a little bit worried there, but we're glad we got through it.
And you know what? Despite that, the last swim meet was the highest rated JDTV broadcast in the program's history. As the first of 4 heats for the 50-yard free begins, it's Noah Minganelli, Matthew Sullivan, Sam Kim, and Jacob Price. All 4 of them JD CBA swimmers. We had over 600 viewers as, well, we were talking about losing cameras. There goes the hard cam. Seems some things have not been fully sorted out as Lane 2 has a sizable lead by about a length. And Lane 2 will take it. Lane 5 coming in second place until we can get this camera restored. So first place goes to Matthew Sullivan with a 28.54. Second place. Well, actually, there's no one in lane 5 on this heat sheet. I don't know where they pulled out a 5th swimmer from. So is it one camera or both cameras at this point? Okay, we got the second camera working at the very least. The good news is we're aware of what's causing the troubles. We just can't fix it for this broadcast, so at least next time we'll have the camera issue sorted out, hopefully. But you know, we were talking about that last broadcast. Despite the technical difficulties, we had over 600 viewers, which I have been told actually is more than the highest ever rated broadcast for Syracuse University Club Hockey. So thank you to all of you out there for making a high school swimming broadcast be able to beat Syracuse University.
Absolutely. I think it's a testament to how supportive the Red Rams fans are to their athletes. We have parents watching, we have siblings watching, friends watching.
And of course, we have 99 viewers right now, even with the cameras trying to get worked out. And we thank each and every one of you for sticking around as we go to the second of 4 heats in the 50-yard free. It'll be Drew Babkin in lane 1, Christian Fuller in lane 2, George Theobald in lane 3, then for CNS, Aaron Purdy in lane 4, and Colin Burns in lane 5. False start, 15-yard penalty, first down. And you know, that was really nice of the officials there and the coach just being able to say, don't worry about it, try again, waving the DQ.
Absolutely, yeah. I think everyone makes mistakes. First meet for him. Everybody's got their nerves up. Absolutely nothing to be worried about.
Nerves are natural. The mark of a good athlete is how well you manage them. And honestly, it looked there like Colin Burns, who is the one who had the false start, got the quickest jump of anyone as we've lost another camera. Why does this happen as soon as the race starts? As soon as it starts, we lose a camera. Well, lane 3 is currently in the lead. That's George Theobald, leading by about a length over lane 1, who's in second place. That would be Drew Babkin. Indeed, Theobald's going to take this one comfortably. Babkin comes in second. Third place is Fuller. Fourth place is Purdy, and fifth is Colin Burns.
Looks like we've got the cameras back up, which is definitely helpful.
Right at the end.
Right at the end, yes.
Right at the end. So first place, Theobald with a 28.16. Second place, 30.52. Third place, 31.30. Fourth place, 34.94. And fifth place, 36.12. Of course, once again, non-scoring heat.
We'll have one more non-scoring heat, and then the fourth and final heat will be the scoring heat for the 50-yard freestyle.
And that should be an exciting one.
One of the better athletes on each team will be going head-to-head in that matchup. Nathan Chen from Jamesville DeWitt CBA and John Harbaugh from CNS.
Keep going for a moment. I'll take a look at the text.
So the 50-yard freestyle is almost something I'm a runner by trade, so one thing I compare it to is the 100-yard dash in track. I think it's an event where making sure your breathing is very important, making sure your movement is as fast as possible. Obviously, that seems like it's very obvious, but it's an event where you do not need to save energy. You do not need to have any endurance. You can go, 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 and go some more. If you have anything left in the tank at the end, it means you are not going fast enough. So now we've got Heat 3, Braden McVicker in lane 1, Matthew Radford in lane 2, Michael DeBias in lane 3, Aiden Birmingham in lane 4, and Reese Balduzzi in lane 5. And we are off. We got 4 swimmers very close to each other for first. As they're going into the turn, it looks like there's a very close battle between lanes 3, 4, and 1. It's going to be a close battle between lanes 3 and 1. DeBias and McVicker. And it looks like DeBias just barely beat out McVicker, both JDCBA athletes. In third place, or we have about a tie for third and fourth place, lanes 2 and lanes 4. That's Radford and Birmingham, and then coming in at the end is Balduzzi. We apologize for the technical difficulties. We've got the last heat of the 50 free coming up. That will be very exciting. Hopefully you'll be able to see it instead of hear it. We have lost both cameras. We are working diligently to make sure that we get them back. Until then, you are blessed with being able to hear my voice describing things, but it does seem like we got at least one camera working, which will be fantastic for the last heat, the scoring heat of the 50-yard free. One thing you might be noticing as you watch is that everybody is doing a fantastic job of wearing their masks immediately after they get out of the pool. They keep them in a Ziploc bag to keep everything sanitary. I think JD, CBA, and CNS as well have all done a great job trying to remain as safe as possible so that we can have as much swimming as possible this year. These swimmers are getting over to their lanes. In lane 1, we have Luke Reichstrom. Lane 2, Lucas Holmquist. Lane 3, Nathan Chen. Lane 4, John Harbaugh. Lane 5, Jacob Griffin. And lane 6, Bobby Dunlap. Keep an eye on lanes 3 and 4. That's been a theme throughout the day. We've got Nathan Chen and John Harbaugh. They're going to be going back and forth throughout this event.
All right, well, here we are for the start of the scoring heat of the 50-yard free. Lanes 2, 3, 4, even 5, pretty closely matched. This is an evenly matched event if we have seen one. Although once again, it looks like lane 3, and this time lane 5 competing for it. That's Jacob Griffin and Nathan Shen. Who's going to take it? It's Nathan Shen with a 24:11. Coming in second place, 24:35, is Jacob Griffin. Third place is John Harbaugh with a 24:64. Fourth place, Lucas Holmquist with a 25:61. Fifth place with a 27:45 is Luke Reichstrom. And sixth place with a 28:62 is Bobby Dunlap. 28:52, excuse me.
We were expecting to see a tight battle between Chen and Harbaugh there, and Harbaugh certainly had a good race. But what was surprising was Griffin had a fantastic race there, making it extremely close with Nathan Chen in under half a second of difference between the two.
You know, I echo the person in the comments who says, please figure the cameras out, ... We're trying.
Trust me, we feel the exact same way.
We know what the issue is. There's something wrong with the software. The score is currently 42-22 as JD takes the 50-yard free as well. something wrong with the software. There was an update a week or two ago that now just everyone's cameras apparently, not just ours, but other people around the world, according to the help forums, are just cutting in and out. And we tried to roll back to a previous version, but then we lost the timer. So it was, hey, do you want just one camera sometimes, or do you want to be able to see the timer and also not be able to switch graphics? Hopefully by next meet we'll have that all sorted out. Of course, next meet will be on the 30th. We will have a modified meet against Weedsport and a varsity meet against Syracuse City. And now we prep for diving. (42-22) our current score. There will only be one diver competing today. That will be Jack Cahill for JD, CBA. And that certainly cannot help the CNS Northstars, as this is just a free point gain for JD CBA.
Exactly. So JD CBA, will get a free 6 points essentially with this event. And a big part of that is, as we were talking about earlier, CNS only has 15 or so athletes on their team. They don't have enough athletes to dive. They don't have a diver.
So this deficit will only continue to grow. But at the same time, the CNS Northstars will only continue to grow. You know, this is just your first meet of the season. You can almost consider this a learning experience.
Oh, absolutely. I think getting back in, getting some laps under your belt, and getting used to swimming again, blowing the cobwebs off, they will definitely be getting better as they go throughout the season.
You can't expect your best stuff to come out in the first meet of the season. So really, I think maybe it's a little bit early to tell, as we're only going into event 5 of 12. But if things continue in this direction, then CNS can always take this simply as a learning experience, and more importantly, you know, a real-world experience and practice to be able to hone in and focus and get those better times in the future.
Definitely. I think there's two ways to react to falling back so early in a meet. There's one, you can just accept a loss, which certainly doesn't help. Or two, you can try to fight through it and learn from what's going wrong. You can learn from some of the closer events, take away what you're doing well, and try to repeat that, and then try to learn from your mistakes.
You know, it's cliche, but I always liked that one quote from, was it Batman Begins, I think, the first in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, when Alfred says, "Why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up."
Exactly.
Camera still not working? Why don't you, let's bring up 2020 season. You can kill some time. I'll try to take another look.
We have Jack getting up onto the diving board for his first dive. He will be doing a 204C back dive with 2 somersaults and a tuck. This has a degree of difficulty of 2.0.
I think he's just warming up, though. Is this his official dives?
I apologize.
We got it.
We do have the cameras back working, and I apologize. That was a warm-up dive for Jack. That will be his first dive, though, the 204C. So he's just warming up right now, getting into the swing of things and trying to make sure he's flexible enough to do all those twists, turns, and flips that he will be doing later on.
Speaking of getting back into the swing of things, let's hope that that's the last time we have to worry about that issue.
Our fingers are certainly crossed.
Knock on wood, this table's plastic. If you happen to see any wood, wherever you are watching this, please send us your positive vibes. Start knocking for us.
So Jack will be doing one more warm-up dive.
Jack Cahill, a lot of experience from last year, as you see from that really smooth entry, and this is just him warming up. Don't forget, we'll get instant replays after each dive.
He does have a background in gymnastics, which certainly translates well onto the diving board, being able to do those flips, know how to have that control of your body. Certainly something that doesn't come naturally. You need to practice that for years and years and years.
Oh yeah, diving board's very similar in, I don't want to say consistency, but in spring to trampolines. So even if you're a diver, you can hit a tramp and still get some practice in when you're unable to go to the pool.
I remember being 5 years old. I live in the same neighborhood as Jack, and I remember going down to his house and jumping on the trampoline with him. He was always certainly doing more flips and tricks than everybody else.
Of course he had a trampoline. It would make perfect sense. I had a trampoline once. Well, you can thank Hurricane Wilma for getting rid of that. It ended up in my neighbor's yard.
Oh, wow. Your parents might not have been too disappointed, though.
No, I think they were pretty happy about it. I know my other neighbor wasn't happy because they were building a pool at the time, and by the time the hurricane passed, it was full.
That is definitely not good for them.
Well, it was a Category 4 hurricane, you know, what can you do? First dive coming up for Cahill. Absolutely incredible. We take another look here. That's about a 630 flip. Backflip, excuse me. 6, 5.5, 5.5. What are these judges watching?
I think it was definitely a great dive. I think he was probably a little disappointed with the amount of splash he had there and the entry to the water, but
Lower third. Cahill's lower third.
Not something to be overly disappointed with. I think that was still definitely a very good dive. Just want to make sure you're getting as little splash as possible. It's not a cannonball competition. It is a diving competition.
Of course, the judges probably have higher standards than we do, too.
Oh, absolutely. Jack Cahill will be getting ready for his second dive now, a 401B inward dive with a pike, and this has a difficulty of 1.5. This will be his easiest dive of the day, so he will be looking for his highest scores.
Last year, Jack Cahill averaged a third-place finish during these meets, although he was also behind Lucas Dekaney. Well, it was certainly a straight pike.
Absolutely, it was. That was his easiest dive with a degree of difficulty, so definitely something he has practiced for years and years.
And if my eyes are correct, that's saying he got a 6.5 and a 7.
So as you'll see, the easier dive it is, the easier it will be to get those higher scores, so he's definitely happy he capitalized on that one.
Feel free to switch between cameras whenever you feel. Of course, conferring with Coach Bewley now. Bewley, excuse me. Coach Bewley actually not just well loved and revered around here, he is the Section 3 chair for swimming and diving. So this guy's in charge of swimming and diving for all of us here. He's someone with a lot of wisdom, almost 35 years of experience.
Definitely gives JD CBA an advantage here with all the experience he brings to the table.
Third dive coming up for Cahill, an inward 1.5 somersault with a tuck. Degree of difficulty, 2.2. Perhaps not his cleanest entry into the water, but certainly a good tuck. Got good rotation on it. It appears to me, as he gets a 5 and a 3.5 from the judges, that the issue is not in the tuck, it's in the untuck.
Definitely, I think when you're coming back in, he might have over-rotated and caught his upper back on the water, which definitely made a little bit of a sloppier entry than he would like. But I think
Well,
I think he's definitely disappointed with that score a little bit, but he has 3 more dives to make up for it.
And at least he can take some solace in knowing that no matter how he does, he's coming in first place today.
Absolutely, and you wonder, does that make you try a little bit harder because you're not scared or nervous about anything, or does that make you ease up a little bit and not feel like you have to go all out? It could go either way.
It could go either way, as he's preparing now for his 4th of 6 dives, the 522.5D. That is a back somersault with a twist. Degree of difficulty 2.7. Cahill looks a little bit winded walking onto the diving board.
That was a very impressive dive from Jack Cahill.
Very impressive reverse twisting somersault.
Most difficult dive of the day with a difficulty of 2.7, and he spun more times than I could count when I was watching. That was very impressive.
A 4.5 and a 5.5 from the judges, so it's not touching his inward pike. But at least in terms of sheer difficulty, from the not from the diving perspective, but from the human perspective, well, I think he's put so much into the dive that he just dropped his water bottle.
Absolutely, and I think one thing you might
replay that. You think we got it? Let's see. Oh no, we got him picking it up.
That's too bad.
Next
but
time.
one thing you might not know at home, and you should keep in mind, is the harder a dive, the higher of a multiplier it will get on the score. So even if you get a lower score on a harder dive, that will be reflected in the total score of your dives.
The 5th dive out of 6 will be the forward 1.5 somersault with a pike, degree of difficulty 1.7. Of course, Jack Cahill last year had an opportunity to do a lot of learning under the best diver in the history of JDCBA swimming, Lucas Dekaney, who has moved on to diving at St. Bonaventure University.
Walking up to the diving board now.
You can always switch cams and don't be afraid to do more cuts if you want. Perhaps a bit of an under rotation this time, but still good little 450 splash.
If he had just gotten a little bit further, like you had said, he probably would have went into the water a little bit cleaner, but still 6 and 5.5 as the scores. An improvement from last time.
Very respectable.
Absolutely.
Entered the water at about a 45-degree angle. Well, that's certainly not the end of the world, but he has one more dive left. The forward double somersault with a pike, degree of difficulty 2.3. The 6th and final dive coming up for Cahill. Stick around, because during the minutes between diving teardown and setup for the next event, which is the 100-yard butterfly, we will be bringing you an interview with JDCBA swimmer Seamus. You're not going to want to miss that. He is, well, might want to describe him as a colorful character.
Absolutely. I think he's, as you'll learn later on, he's new to the swimming team, but he does bring a lot of character and energy to the Red Ram squad this year.
It's something so interesting, a completely new phenomenon thanks to the pandemic, where you see athletes who have never done certain sports before throw their hat into the ring simply because their sport isn't able to be played at the current time. Although you're going to see a little bit less of that, as winter high-risk sports were just greenlit by New York State yesterday, which means that sports like basketball and possibly wrestling could be coming your way in the next couple weeks. And that also bodes well for football and volleyball as well in fall too. And I'm sure that many people here are waiting with bated breath to see football return.
Definitely. I think that's one of the more popular sports up here, and people have been waiting since the fall to finally get back on the football field. I know a lot of student athletes are going to be very happy with this decision.
And Jamesville DeWitt finally returning to Class A competition after spending a year in developmental to rebuild. Now that could go either way. It looked like smooth form, but we did hear that slap against the water from his legs hitting on entry.
I agree. I think he didn't quite get his legs out from under him to make that straight line and going as smooth as possible, but the beginning of that dive was definitely extremely impressive. And it's reflected in the scores. 6 and 5.5 is very, very good, especially for that difficult of a dive.
So the diving portion of today's event has concluded. Congratulations to Jack Cahill for winning, although he did run unopposed.
And that will widen the margin even wider between JDCBA and CNS.
So now we begin the setup and the warm-ups between diving and the 100-yard butterfly. Once again, this is only our second broadcast as a crew here at JDTV, and we are sincerely thankful that you guys are sticking around to help us.
Yeah, should be.
So give us just one moment, ladies and gentlemen, because we are about to come back with an interview with Seamus Endries, the JDCBA senior.
Don't you dare disrespect you.
Is this mic on? Joining the team so late in your high school career?
Of course, Tyler. Thank you for having me, by the way. Essentially, once I heard that indoor track season was canceled, it was devastating news, and I had to take a few weeks to recuperate. But I was pulled out of my deep depression by some friends who recommended swimming to me. I had heard about, thank you, Luke. I had heard about the esteemed coaching staff and the camaraderie on the team, and I figured that I'd give it a shot. And overall, it's been a fantastic experience, and I've been able to grow a lot, both physically and as a person.
That's very good to hear. So I understand there's a lot of safety precautions that you've been following. So how has it been trying to socialize and get to know different swimmers on the team, given all the different precautions you have to follow?
Yes. So obviously we've been very strict, and the coaches have been very cognizant of those procedures. Nonetheless, we've been able to socialize at a safe distance, and I feel that the bond that we've made with swimmers has not been hindered, despite not being able to be as close physically.
That is great to hear. So earlier you said you were on the track team in the past.
Yes.
What skills have you picked up from track that have translated into swimming that have helped you out at all?
So originally I came into swimming thinking it may be slightly easier because I built up endurance. Unfortunately, the running endurance has not necessarily transferred over well. So I would really say that it hasn't really been anything physical. Mostly the work ethic and drive that I've incorporated into running has transferred over to swimming, and it's helped me get to the place that I am.
That's good to hear. I think you've been very lucky to go from a very good coach to another very good coach, from Coach Rolls, who's the cross country and track coach, to Coach Bewley, who's also done a great job with the swimming program.
Fantastic coaches.
Thank you, Seamus. We will let you go back and warm up for your future events, but thank you very much, and good luck with the rest of the meet.
Tyler, thank you for having me.
To some prep work for our next events. We've got the 100-yard butterfly coming up. And welcome back. We just finished up with warm-ups, and now we have the 100-yard fly. And they're off. In lane 1, we have Ignacio, lane 2, Marino, lane 3, Deal, lane 4, Harbaugh, and lane 5, Caden Griffin. Again, Deal is a part of another one of these close matchups. Deal and Harbaugh in state quals last year had a close matchup that Harbaugh won by 3 seconds. However, Deal is coming into this with more experience and more practice. They've got extra meet, more practices under their belt. It's going to be interesting to see if that makes up for the time advantage that Harbaugh had last year. Right now, Deal is in first, but Harbaugh is right there behind him. Going into the final turn, Deal has about a length lead over Harbaugh. And it looks like Deal will win by a solid margin. Deal in first with a 1 minute and 1 minute 0.23 seconds. In second, we have
second place is lane number 4, John Harbaugh, with a 103.10. Third place is lane 5, Caden Griffin, with a 104.39. Fourth place is Emmanuel Ignacio with a 104.59. Fifth place, the 106.72, is Luke Marino. Might as well be transparent about what's going on. I left my phone over there. Would you mind passing it to me? That's where I'm seeing the comments. Might as well be transparent, so I tried swapping out the batteries in the second camera, and it said error. I've never gotten an error on a camera before. So I have the manual next to me. I look it up, and it says, if it flashes error, please contact a Nikon customer service representative. Not very helpful.
So we will be working through these issues as the meet goes on. But as you just saw, the extra training that JD has with having done a scrimmage, having more practices, having a meet under their belt, helped. Instead of losing by 3 seconds this year, Bobby Deal beat Harbaugh by 3 seconds. So that 6-second swing really played a big part into that last race.
Indeed it did, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to regularly scheduled programming without any more interruptions.
Absolutely. Up next.
But JD, CBA, has taken every single event so far today. We cannot lose sight of that as the score is now 57-29.
And again, a big part of it is CNS is only putting 2 swimmers in most of their events, so they can't get that third swimmer to get points. They don't have them. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that continues to impact the meet.
So at this point, really, we're not looking for points. We're looking at times right now, and that's the takeaway for CNS as we're about to go into the 100-yard freestyle. Let's go Rampage. Or actually, no, wait, it's about to begin. After this, we'll go Rampage.
The Rampage promo?
Between the 2 heats. There will be 2 heats for the 100-yard freestyle as our assistant coach continues to mess around in front of the camera. He's really enjoying this. It's great to see that childlike joy. First of 2 heats, the non-scoring heats, Luke Henderson, Tim Sheftick, Luke Rystrom, Aaron Purdy, and Colin Burns will be competing. And we're off. Right now it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 order, which is very satisfying to see at the very least. Though lane 3 gets a better turn. That's Luke Rystrom gets a better turn than Tim Sheftick.
It looks like Rystrom and Sheftick will remain neck and neck throughout this race.
The CNS swimmers make their turn as the JDCBA swimmers more than half the pool away.
And as you see, the efficiency of how good you are on your turns really plays into how fast you're going to go. Timmy Sheftick had a great turn, and now he is in first coming into the final stretch.
Luke Henderson is in first.
I apologize, Luke Henderson.
Sheftick took second. Rystrom took second, Sheftick in third. So that's Henderson with a 103.12 in first place. Second place with a 103.82 is Luke Rystrom. Third place, Tim Sheptick with a 105.37. Fourth and fifth, finishing up now, looks like lane 4, Aaron Purdy will come in fourth, and Colin Burns will come in fifth. Purdy with a 126.29, and fifth place with a 128.86 is Colin Burns. Today's meet is brought to you by the Jamesville DeWitt Rampage. The Rampage is a fully online student-run newspaper which covers news, sports, culture, and everything in between. Even the current state of world affairs can't prevent the Rampage from bringing you the Jamesville DeWitt news and stories you care about. So stay up to date on all things JD. Make sure to check out jdrampage.org. That's www.jdrampage.org. Of course, Tyler, you are the sports editor for the Rampage, so certainly something you have a vested interest in.
That's correct. I do have the pleasure of being the sports editor of the school paper, and with all the sports news going on in the world right now, with winter sports perhaps coming back, fall 2 sports coming into play, spring sports, all the overlaps, there's going to be lots of news, and all the coverage can be found on our website.
Hey, Coach has got to learn that we have to cut away when he does that. But we're prepping for the second and scoring heat of the 100-yard freestyle. Lane 1 will be Michael DiBiase. Lane 2, Lucas Holmquist. Lane 3, Garrick Snyder. Lane 4 for CNS, Jacob Griffin. Lane 5, Anthony Gabrielli. And Lane 6, Aiden Birmingham, who we really haven't seen anything from yet today. Made their way onto the block. Bryson Duncan in the comments says, hi. Hi. And here we go, the 100-yard freestyle. And just look at the splashing in the water. They are attacking this time.
They are fierce, and they are chopping, and they are trying to get an early lead. It looks like lane 4 will be the person getting that.
Indeed, it's Jacob Griffin for CNS attempting to score CNS's first place victory of the meet. Of course, there's still an entire way and back left in this race as we have hit the 30-second mark. CNS bench coming alive now. Griffin still in the lead by a matter of about a length and a half over the second place Garrick Snyder. And Jacob Griffin has the first gold finish for the Cicero-North Syracuse Northstars today. Griffin with a 53.97, which, by the way, qualifies him for the Section 3 Class A meet. So congratulations, first event of the year. Second place will be Garrick Snyder with a 57.34. Third place is Lucas Holmquist with a 57.85. Fourth place, Anthony Gabrielli with a 59.06. Fifth place with a 102.20 is Michael DiBiase, and sixth place is Aiden Birmingham with a 114.65. Now that's got to be a morale booster if you're with CNS to finally have a victory under your belt.
Definitely. I think it takes a weight off their shoulders. It takes some pressure off of their top swimmers. Once you have that first place finish under your belt, you can kind of breathe a little bit easier and let it come to you more naturally instead of just trying to force it.
So coming up now will be the 500-yard freestyle. And interestingly enough, in this 8th event out of the 12 we will see today, there will only be 3 swimmers, 2 from JD-CBA, 1 from CNS. Qualifying time for Section 3 Class A is 6 minutes and 99 milliseconds. So in lane 2 will be Lucian Zenz, the freshman. In lane 3, the sophomore Nate Wales, who's one of our players on a Rampage today. And in lane 4, the CNS sophomore, Noah Ritchie.
It's interesting how much youth we're seeing in this event. It's something that definitely a lot of experience helps, knowing how to pace yourself. So Hopefully they perform well today, but hopefully all of these swimmers also get a lot of growth going into the future.
Just want to point out, laying down the numbers on the left side, so an amazing hat on one of these swimmers here.
Point the camera.
An amazing hat on this guy right here, whoever he is. I don't know who he is, but I love it.
That is Bobby Deal, one of the top swimmers from JD. Phenomenal hat.
A great taste in hat wear, as well as a great talent in swimming. You can't be walking around. You got to stick to the camera at all times. The 500-yard free, of course, the longest race out of any of them in a dual meet. And it really goes to show just how amplified little mistakes can be when the Section 3 Class A qualifying time is 6 minutes .99, but the New York State qualifying time is 4:52.52. An entire minute's difference, which can just be, that can be as small as a mediocre turn.
Exactly. I think one thing you'll notice is with such a long meet, little things matter. I think if you can take 1 second off of each lap, that is 15 to 20 seconds off your entire meet. It really makes a big impact.
Swimmers approach the block. You know what to do. And here we go, the longest event of them all, the 500-yard freestyle. And taking an immediate early lead is Nate Wales, and quite frankly, that's probably going to be a trend.
I think Richie from CNS has to make a choice here. He has to decide whether or not he wants to pace himself so he has more energy to finish strong, or whether or not he wants to try to stay with Wales up throughout this first part, because he could lose a lot of his energy if he wastes it trying to stay up with Wales, who is a very, very talented swimmer.
From the looks of things right now, it looks like he's trying to pace himself. He is neck and neck with Lucian Zenz. Had a small lead, although now he's falling behind. Zenz clawing about a half a body in front of him now to a full length. And Wales is an entire pool away.
I'm a track and field athlete, and typically my race is the 3,200 meter race, which is the longest in running. And one thing that shares with this is the need for endurance, the need to make sure you're getting air in, because you can breathe you can not worry about your breathing for a shorter event, but for a longer event, you are going to run out of breath very quickly if you try to hold it. You're going to need to pace yourself, and you're going to need to make sure that you have the energy for the entire race.
And of course, that's complicated in swimming where your head's underwater for half the time. Of course, with the freestyle, you have the luxury of being able to turn your head left and right. But even then, it's about how big of a breath are you going to take, because the faster you swim, the less opportunity you're going to have your mouth out of the water.
It's definitely a very, very technical practice and something that comes with training. It's not, you don't just naturally breathe efficiently when you're swimming. You just want air however you can get it. And that's a skill that it seems like Wales has been able to hone over time as he takes a absolutely ginormous lead.
He's ahead by an entire length, the full 25 yards. He really is something to watch, isn't he?
It's really, really mesmerizing to watch, just seeing him flow so smoothly, and he just keeps going and going and going. It doesn't stop.
And now he has lapped Noah Ritchie. We were talking in his first event earlier about just how effortlessly he cuts through the water. And even in freestyle, which is the event that makes the most mess, if you will, he's still splashing less than everyone else. He's just so efficient.
I agree, and I think that plays a big role in his success in these longer events. You want to expend as little energy as possible while going as quick as possible, and making those big splashes and doing these really powerful swings of the arms wastes some energy. So I think him being able to be so efficient is what makes him such a successful swimmer.
You know, really, it's kind of like they say about jazz musicians, you look for the things that they don't do. And with Nate Wales, it's very much the same concept, that what he's not doing is wasting breath. He's not splashing around too much. He is efficient. He has stamina management. And all of it is coming to a head. He's at least a lap ahead of everyone else right now. Look at that. He's on 15 according to the sign holder. Everyone else is on 13.
Now, this is the type of event where comebacks certainly aren't impossible. There's plenty of time from the beginning to the end to come back, but when he has a lead like this and it keeps going larger, you wonder what's going through his head right now, if he's thinking about saving energy for later, if he's thinking about just getting through the race. It's a decision he'll have to make, because I believe he is swimming later in the 400-yard freestyle relay, so he's trying to think about making sure he's successful in that event as possible as well.
Now, this probably applies to your experience in track and field as well, but when you're thinking about comebacks, do you allow yourself to fall a little bit behind the beginning in order to have that energy at the end to make up for it, or do you go full-out sprint at the start in an attempt to build up that morale so that you can keep pace and possibly stay ahead towards the end?
I think it's really a personal choice. One thing that I've found that most runners and swimmers share the opinion on is that they would rather be getting closer to the person in front of them as the meet goes on than be ahead of them and slowly be creeping back and becoming further and further behind. So I do think it's probably better to conserve energy for the end, but it's really up to each individual athlete.
So essentially you're saying it's best to keep pace with the leader as much as you possibly can, so that when things end, and by the way, Wales just got a 5:16.23. He demolishes the Section 3 Class A time. 5:16.23 is ridiculous. He's just about 17 seconds away from qualifying for New York State meet.
And you look at that time and you look at his grade, he's a sophomore. There's plenty of time for him to reach the New York State qualifying time.
And you look at the two athletes left in the pool right now, Lucian Zenz and Noah Ritchie, and it looks like they're slowing down a bit. They're winded.
It does. It's a very tough event to pace. It's a very tough event to have energy for towards the end. It's not surprising at all that they're starting to run out of energy.
And while I have to say, Noah Ritchie has kept decent pace with Lucian Zenz for this entire event so far. Zenz is now finished. Ritchie finishes about a third of the pool behind. Zenz with the 6:13.13. And Ritchie's still got another lap or two. But you know, you love to see this, the sportsmanship from CNS, the bench coming alive, cheering on Noah Ritchie.
Exactly. It's a very mentally tough race to compete in. You can get down on yourself when you're so far behind and when you've been in the pool for so long. So having those teammates there to cheer you on certainly helps you push through that last lap.
Yeah, you see he's speeding up now as he goes to the final stretch. He's giving it everything he's got. And if you're Noah Ritchie, you can keep your head high as he finishes with a 6:58.91. So the 500-yard freestyle has come and gone. We have 4 events remaining. And coming up now, which will have 2 heats, is the 200-yard freestyle relay. We're going to see a lot of shifting infrastructure in a moment as half the benches are going to clear. The non-scoring heat will be 3 teams, all of them from JD-CBA. The second scoring heat will have 2 teams from CNS and 3 teams from JD-CBA. Anywhere at this point.
Okay. Do you have a preference, or?
Not really. Whichever. We've been talking about last year's meet quite a bit. These two teams last met on December 17th, 2019. The final score, 95-88, was almost very different. You know, Coach Bewley told us a little earlier, and I will quote directly, the meet came down to the last relay. A swimmer on the CNS 400 free relay team was called for a false start. All the way through the handshake at the end, I believe they'd won. The most devastating loss is to lose the 400 free relay by 1 point. It wasn't until I went to the coach at the end to congratulate him on putting together the perfect lineup when he told me his team was DQ'd. My jaw hit the floor.
So JD ended up winning 95-88, but if the CNS swimmer hadn't been cut out, then CNS would have won 92-91. So that is a very, very tough way to lose a meet.
Whether it was, no matter the team that would have lost it, it would have been devastating.
I agree. However, it's one thing to lose because you were a little bit slower, but it's another thing to lose because of a disqualification. Now that is definitely not a good way to lose.
Here is the first heat of the 200 free relay. In lane 1, it's George Theobald starting off. Lane 2, Willin Arakchev. And lane 3, Seamus Endries. And it's just about anyone's race. Lanes 1 and 2 pulling ahead ever so slightly, but they're pretty evenly matched.
It's great to see Seamus, like we were talking about earlier, someone who's so new to the sport, be able to keep up with swimmers who have been swimming since middle school. It's really impressive how quickly he's picked up on it.
Changeover in lane 1, Emmanuel Ignacio. Lane 2, Matthew Sullivan. Lane 3, Samuel Kim. Coming up, the third swimmer will be Andrew Tam, Malcolm Britz, and Braden McVicker, respectively. Then finally, Noah Mignonelli, Jacob Price, and Christian Fuller. Lane 2 currently pulling ahead. The team of Arakchev, Sullivan, Britz, and Price. So we hit the 1:15 mark. And we'll have the changeover to the fourth swimmers in the 200 free relay. And I just want to take a quick moment once again to thank all of you for joining us here through Thick and Thin on JDTV. This is our second broadcast ever as the JDTV program formalized, having a crew here instead of it just being just me. And it really is a privilege to be able to have a program like this at the high school level with all of this equipment and technology and all this talent here, even if the technology doesn't always work.
I can definitely speak for us students. We're all very thankful for the opportunities we have been given to learn about broadcasting, learn about different sports, and be able to help bring the sports to you because you cannot watch them in person.
First place will go to lane 2 with a 1:58.57. Second place, lane 1 with a 2:05.07. And lane 3 is, well, third place with a 2:14.66. So now we move on to the scoring heat in the 200 free relay. And when it comes time for our next meets, this time we will have the working software. Let's throw up the promos for next meet. Indeed, join us for our first modified meet of the season as the Weed Sport Warriors will take on the JD-CBA Red Rams at January 30th at 9:30 in the morning. And then coming up later that same day, the Red Rams will take on Syracuse City in the varsity meet at noon. So we'll have a doubleheader. It'll be a lot of swimming, but it should be fun. And of course, the question against Syracuse City is anyone going to be able to stop Bilal Hamad, who is just an incredible swimmer for Syracuse City?
It's definitely going to be some very close races that he's involved in, so it's definitely something you are going to want to watch.
Hamad made it individually to states last year, just proving how much of a talent he is. And against Syracuse City, the question may be, is he going to be enough to bring them ahead, or is JD going to have the JD-CBA, going to have the manpower to be able to overtake this incredible performer? And now we're off for the 200 free relay. In lane 1 for JD-CBA, it's Luke Rystrom starting off. Lane 2, Lucas Holmquist. Lane 3, Nathan Chen. Lane 4 for CNS, Jacob Griffin. Lane 5, Aiden Birmingham. And once again, it is lanes 3 and 4 neck and neck. As we're about to have our first changeover. Coming up next, Tim Sheftick in lane 1, Michael DiBiase lane 2. Garrick Snyder lane 3, Connor Burke lane 4, Payne Corbett lane 5. The third swimmers when they come around will be Samuel Keener, Luke Henderson, Luke Marino, Donovan Medina, and Aaron Purdy. And the closers will be Lucian Zenz, Bobby Deal, Nate Wales, John Harbaugh, and Reese Balduzzi.
Burke and Snyder absolutely neck and neck here. Going into the third swimmer from each team.
It looks like lane 4 is pulling a slight lead. Oh, no, wait, it is closed by Luke Marino, outpacing Donovan Medina, but only barely just.
It's been back and forth the entire meet. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this last leg.
And Marino, with everything he's got, pulling ahead by a full body length when they were initially completely tied. The first changeover goes to JDCBA, and that's Nate Wales, who's going to attempt to finish this one out.
He's probably exhausted from the 500-yard freestyle, so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to close. It's getting closer and closer.
And it's John Harbaugh, his primary competition. He has a length on him. Will he be able to finish it up? It looks like he will. JDCBA will take the 200 free relay with a time of 1:38.69. Coming in second place, 1:41.01 is CNS. Splashes are getting intense. That's the monitor. Oh, that's the sensitive electronic equipment that cost more than me. Third place is JD in lane 2 with a 1:50.42. Fourth place, lane 1 for JDCBA, 2 minutes 57. And fifth place will be lane 5 for CNS, who is finishing up as we speak with a 2:15.31. I just want to point out this droplet of water landed about 2 or 3 inches away from my phone, just highlighting the hazards that we face here.
We definitely got very, very lucky there.
Yeah, very lucky. But speaking of hazards, might as well talk a little bit about the safety guidelines we've been following here. All the ways we've been playing it safe. Masks must stay on until you get into the pool or you're on the starting block. No hugs, high fives, or handshakes allowed between teammates or opposing teams. Everyone's temperature is checked at the door. You cannot come in if your temperature is irregular. We have no spectators here, just swimmers. High-risk sports such as football and volleyball have been moved to March and may hopefully get the green light, as high-risk sports for winter were just green-lit yesterday. There are no playoffs to minimize travel, and of course we are calling this game with masks on. This meet, excuse me. You know, when someone says go Sam in the comments, I don't know if they're talking about, well, it could be me or it could be Sam Keener. I want to think it's me, but it's probably Sam Keener.
I'd like to think it's you as well. It does sound like it was probably for a swimmer, but you never know. Could be both.
Could be. Of course, my name is Sam Gelfand, joined by Tyler Aitken as my color commentator, and might as well shout out the rest of our crew. Here we have Nick Dekaney, our producer, Katie Donaghue, and Bianca Wales, our 2 camera operators. And they've all been doing a fantastic job today, being able to bring you this meet. Someone in the comments said, we're great too. Well, we'll take it.
Absolutely.
So nice to know we're your second thought.
We should be your second thought. The swimmers are always first on our mind.
You're learning. You are learning. We're going up next to event number 10, the 100-yard backstroke. 5 competitors in this one as your score is 84-43. CNS still getting ready to enter their 2 swimmers into the backstroke. 1:11.99 to qualify for the Section 3 Class A meet. Lane 1 will be Tim Sheftick. Lane 2, Kyler Hike. Lane 3, Jamie Turo. And then for CNS in Lane 4, Anthony Gabrielli. And Lane 5, Bobby Dunlap. Only 1 senior in this race, 2 freshmen, a junior and a sophomore. The 1 senior being Dunlap, the freshman being Hike and Turo. Turo has such an incredible future ahead of him, considering he's already one of the top swimmers on JDCBA. And here we go for the 100-yard backstroke.
As you mentioned, the youth on both teams is something I've noticed throughout the day. Lots of sophomores and freshmen not just potential, but actually contributing with points to their team's success.
Of course, you got to start with potential, but they've already taken on leading roles on both of these teams. And, you know, CNS may have put together one of the best squads they've ever had last year. Give it a couple more years, and they'll be right back at it, as it looks like lane 3, Jamie Turo, is taking a sizable lead. Going into the third leg.
Backstroke is certainly a hard event. You can't see where you're going. It's definitely one of the more difficult strokes, but Toro really seems to be gliding here.
You got to get that full arm extension, your rotator cuff. There's a lot of strain on it, like throwing a baseball, but Turo has the 2 or 3 lengths of a lead as he is about to finish up here and take this one with a 102.07, which, by the way, he qualifies for Section 3 Class A meet by 9 seconds.
Wow. As a freshman, too, that is a phenomenal time for him.
9 seconds he qualifies by. Now, it's going to be lane 4, Anthony Gabrielli, who finishes second with a 107.74. Third place is Kyler Hike with a 124.93. Fourth place, 116.90, is Bobby Dunlap. And fifth place is Tim Sheftick with a 121.73. In fact, that means that Anthony Gabrielli also qualifies for the Section 3 Class A meet.
Always great to see people from both teams having success. You don't need to win your event to qualify for sectionals, so there's some silver lining there, even though he wasn't able to take first.
And of course, really, at the end of the day, wins and losses in dual competition don't factor into the sectional meet. It's more of an individual thing. So as long as you can improve your times at these dual meets, whether or not you find yourself at the podium, you're still getting something really good out of this, perhaps even better than a straight-up win.
Especially in your first meet back, you're trying to get just a starting point for your time. So you know where you're training off of, you know where you can improve from.
So we now prepare for event number 11, the 100-yard breaststroke. So we're going to go to today's trivia question, because a little bit of sleuthing from Tyler. I did not know this. What is the JD-CBA swimming and diving team's favorite place to eat? We'll give you a few seconds to think of it.
If you'd like to put it in the comments, you're welcome to. We'll see if anybody's able to guess.
Well, there's about a 30-second delay between what we see and what the people at home see. So maybe we'll bring this back up at the end of this, and we'll ask after this competition. It's not Dinosaur Barbecue, I'll give you that hint.
Definitely not Dinosaur Barbecue. Not very similar food. I'll give you a little bit of a hint there. Dinosaur Barbecue is very good, though.
We'll leave it there as the 100-yard breaststroke about to get underway. Someone guessed Mario and Salvo's. That's my favorite place in DeWitt, I'll give you that. Lane 1 for the breaststroke is Andrew Tam. Lane 2, Emmanuel Ignacio. Lane 3, Nathan Shen. Lane 4, Connor Burke. Lane 5, Donovan Medina. And Lane 6, Payne Corbett. We're expecting big things from Nathan Shen, and he has already taken a lead. Remember, there are 4 lengths in the 100-yard breaststroke, so they are a quarter of the way through now. Shen the first to make a turn, followed by lane 4, Connor Burke.
And one of my favorite parts of watching the breaststroke is hearing the chanting to try to keep your teammates in rhythm. You might be able to hear a little bit of that in the background.
The CNS squad certainly piping up. Now, the lack of spectators here has not hurt the ambiance within the JD Aquatic Center. As Chen now has at least a length of a lead, perhaps 2 lengths. I don't know if you measure the length from the feet or from the head. If it's from the head, it's 2 lengths. From the feet, it's 1. But point is, Nathan Chen has a very sizable lead that's only growing as we head to the final leg. He's almost done. The battle now is between third place. It's Ignacio and Medina figuring out who's going to finish third. So Nathan Shen finishes a 110.51. Also qualifies for the sectional meet. And so do places 2 and 3. which are Connor Burke finishing second, 1:13.90. And in third place, Emmanuel Ignacio, 1:16.75. All three of them have qualified for the Section 3 Class A meet in either their first or second meet of the season. Coming in fourth is Donovan Medina with a 1:17.45. Coming in fifth is Payne Corbett with a 1:34.70. And sixth with a 1:35.23 is Andrew Tam.
And it looks like...
And regarding the trivia, we got a couple of good guesses. It is not Tully's, but we have a correct answer here.
David Snyder guessed Rustin's Diner, and yes, that is the correct guess. Early Saturday morning practices, getting in the pool, 6 a.m. You're going to be very hungry afterwards, and not too many places are open, so Rustin's Diner over on Jamesville Road, they've got big portions of food, which a good practice makes you very hungry after a swim meet.
Now, I'm not going to advertise them too much because they haven't paid us. Of course,
Fair enough.
Of course, if you want to, we're right here. You know how to contact us. But I haven't found a good diner up here. I hope it's good. I got to try that. Enjoy some good diner food. Although, you know what I do miss? Isn't there like a good Jewish deli around here somewhere? Because I really need some good bagels.
There are some good bagels around here. Obviously, nowhere as good as New York City or Montreal, but there are some good bagel spots around here. Another favorite breakfast of mine.
Bruegger's I've heard good things about. Is that place good?
Bruegger's is definitely a good spot. There's a place in the city of Syracuse, Water Street Bagel Company. They're also very good. DeWitt Bagel Company over near Mario and Salvo's. There are plenty of options for you to get your fill on bagels.
I'm going to have to start exploring those as we are now setting up for the 12th and final event of the meet, the 400-yard freestyle relay. Only one heat here, throwing the entire benches into the pool right now.
And of course, this is the event that brought upon so much drama in last year's meet. It doesn't look like we'll have that type of drama here with such a big lead for Jamesville DeWitt and CBA, but it's still going to be an interesting race to watch. You've got great swimmers in the pool on both teams.
And by the way, David Snyder asks, what do I win for guessing correctly? You win acknowledgement is what you get because we can't afford a prize. But you win the self-satisfaction of knowing that you guessed correctly. And really, you know, that boost of the self-esteem at the end of the day, isn't that the real prize?
I agree. I think getting a shout-out for yourself in front of everyone is a great prize. Unfortunately, we don't have the budget for anything else. We don't
have the budget for working cameras, for Pete's sake.
I was just going to say that.
But hey, you get the satisfaction of hearing your name called out on the highest rated high school broadcast in Section 3. I looked it up. I looked up the YouTube numbers the other day. We're number one.
That is fantastic to hear.
Man, what did we do to deserve that? Well, looks like they're about to get ready for the 400-yard free relay in lane one. It's going to be Sam Keener, Christian Fuller, Matt Sullivan, and Kyler Hike. Lane two for JDCBA, Lucian Zenz, George Theobald, Seamus Endries, and Braden McVicker. Lane three for JDCBA, Nate Wales, Luke Marino, Garrick Snyder, and Jamie Turo. Then for CNS, lane four, Anthony Gabrielli, Caden Griffin, Noah Ritchie, and Bobby Dunlap. Then finally lane five for CNS, Reese Balduzzi, Aaron Purdy, Colin Burns, and Payne Corbett.
And now Nathan Wales, who has led the team in several good events, is putting JDCBA off to a great lead.
Yeah, indeed, in lane three, Nate Wales sailing ahead of the competition by half a length of the pool.
Already with the 200-yard freestyle and the 500-yard freestyle under his belt, he is now really contributing with his own leg of the 400-yard freestyle.
Man, he embodies the spirit of smooth sailing. It's easy for him, and he does it with no water resistance whatsoever.
And he just keeps going. He's already done two of the longer events, and he still has the energy to swim so fast.
So the first changeover is made. It goes to Luke Marino now, who has almost an entire pool, an entire length of the pool to himself. So really we're looking at who's going to be in second. That's between lanes 2 and 4, as George Theobald and Caden Griffin are currently neck and neck. Hate to say, but I think the first place finish is in the bag already.
I agree, and it's rare, especially between these two teams, that you'll be able to say that so early in an event. But
it looks like lane 4, Caden Griffin and Noah Ritchie are pulling ahead of lane 2, so they're currently angling for second place. We've hit the 145 mark. Final change, I believe, coming for lane 3. Or that could be the third change. How many lanes have they done?
They are going down and back 2 times.
Well, I mean, I know that. I'm just saying how many people are left to... I think that was the third change. I think that was the third. Well, that's not really reflecting well on me, is it?
There are dozens of swimmers over there at that end of the pool. It is hard to keep track of
it is
how
really
much
hard.
is left.
It is really hard to keep track of what's going on. It's like watching a NASCAR race. You know, that scoreboard scrolls for hours. But lane 3 still a very comfortable lead, almost lapping lanes 2 and 4 who are competing for second place. Change over for lane 5 now. So we hit the 3-minute mark. And lane 3, they're lapping lane 2 right now. That's not close. That is a full lap ahead. Once again, the qualifying time for New York State is 3:18.87. There is no qualifying time for the Section 3 Class A meet as long as you qualified in another category.
And this is a great way to cap off the day from an already impressive string of performances from the Red Rams. It's putting an exclamation point on a much larger win than they had last year.
CBA can certainly rest easy with the final results of this meet. And CNS, even though they may be down, there's a lot of bright spots on the Northstars. A lot to look forward to.
Absolutely. It doesn't look like it by looking at the scoreboard, but there are a lot of very strong athletes. There's a lot of athletes with potential. And you don't even have to wait till next season. I think going into the next few meets, once they have some more experience, they will already be seeing some drastic improvements coming their way.
And multiple swimmers have already qualified in this first meet of the season for the Section 3 Class A meet. As we saw the first place finish, but they took it off the board for some reason. It was about 3:58. Second place, 4:06.16. That's lane 1. Third place is lane 4 with a 4:23.20. Fourth place, lane 5 with a 4:29.69. Although I think something's off because lane 1 just finished. Now it's saying lane 2 is the 5th place finisher. I don't know what's going on. We know that lane 3 won. And now lane 5 is still going. They might have put up the splits early.
Was it 4 then 2?
So it looks like lane 3 won, then I believe lane 4, then lane 2 by my estimation.
Gotcha.
And then that would mean lane 1 and lane 5 is currently finishing up.
And again, you'll see some great sportsmanship with CNS and JD-CBA athletes all cheering on this last relay team.
Really is great to see the sportsmanship, as it does look like Payne Corbett is a little bit winded. The sophomore is going to finish it out to a round of applause from his fellow teammates, his peers. Got halfway there with 5:35 on the clock. He's going to finish it out, and as soon as he hits that wall, this meet is just about wrapped up. Just got to get the final announcement on the score. Some coaches, the coaches may have wanted to strike some of their scores from the record. We'll get the final score for you. It was a 3:54.52 for lane 3. It took first place. Fifth place, 5:45.01. The JD-CBA flag being proudly waved as they have taken this meet by a landslide, but the question is, by how much? We'll get the final tally for you in just a moment. So stick around for that, but we do really appreciate you coming to join us for this broadcast of JDCBA Athletics. We have our own tally, but of course we do want to double check it. Our tally says 113 to 60, but usually, or 103.56.
113.60.
Not yet. Okay, well, we're tallying, but usually you don't see the score go above 100 in these meets. Usually coaches don't count certain times towards the end. Just cap it at 100, so we will see what the final score will end up being, and if our time is accurate, or our count is accurate, excuse me. I'm coming up on hour number 4 being here. I'm starting to lose it. Coach Bewley calling for 1 clap for the announcement of the scores to display sportsmanship while also allowing things to move along. Sign of respect to CNS from the JDCBA swim team. Always great to see Coach Bewley emphasizing sportsmanship as such a big factor of high school athletics. You know, Tracy Griffin in the comments makes a good point. For a team that pretty much has only been practicing for a week and does not have their own pool, CNS does have a lot of heart.
They didn't have any scrimmages. They didn't have any meets before today. They had several less practices than JDCBA. So they were in a set of very difficult circumstances, and to be able to push through and get so many qualifying times in their first meet is absolutely phenomenal.
We're seeing some JD swimmers starting to pack up, but we have yet to have the official announcement of the final score. It doesn't look actually like Coach Bewley's going to want to announce the final score. Sometimes, you know, when it comes to big deficits like that, coaches will choose not to, just as a sign of respect and sportsmanship. Don't want it to, you know, rub it in the faces of your opponents or anything like that, as both teams are currently wrapping up, so I think it's about time that we do too. The final score somewhere around about 113 to 60, could be 100 to 60 if Coach Bewley decided to cap it. We will have to learn after the fact, as there was no official announcement, but we do appreciate you sticking with us. Regardless, thank you so very much for joining us here at the JD Aquatic Center in DeWitt, New York. My name is Sam Gelfand on behalf of my broadcast partner, Tyler Aitken, and all of us here at JD TV. Have a very good rest of your day, wherever you may be.